All right, here we go, another episode. Today we have a special guest of Denise with TV3 Photography, and she is a mother. She is a cook and a photographer, and I just want to thank you for coming on to the podcast today, and we're going to get into it and talk about photography today.
Super. Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for doing this. It's very welcome.
Oh, no problem. I just feel like, us as a community in Fresno and Clovis or the Central Valley, I feel like us photographers really don't have a community, and I'm just trying to get, as much photographers as I can, talk to them, and let's talk photography, because I'm tired of talking to my friends that don't really know about it. And
as soon as you start talking about it, they're ready to go.
Like, what are you talking about? You speak another language, but, it's good to talk to other fellow photographers and people that's in the game and understand it, and so, yeah, that's why we're here.
Well, thank you. I think it's great.
Okay. I like to start off the podcast with a quote or some music. So this is a quote. No one should question the faith of others, for no human being can judge the ways of God. And I got that from your actual Facebook. So.
Oh, yeah, that's highly Selassie. Yes.
So, yeah, I agree. I agree with that. So
that's one of the things that drew me to the Rasta lifestyle.
Okay.
Was because they follow his teachings, and that was one that just stood out when you've got so many different ways to connect to a higher being.
And was that Bob Marley?
No, this was Haile Selassie.
Okay. Oh, I don't know what that is. I need to do some homework.
But Bob Marley always had what Haile Selassie said.
Okay. So was he before Bob Marley?
Yes.
Oh, see, look, I'm learning something today, you guys. Yeah. Look at that. So let's see. Okay, here we go. So I see you went to Madera High School. So are you from Fresno, or did you just come here? Or you always been here?
I'm born and raised in Madera, and decided to leave so that my children could have a different experience. With Madera being a small town, and I was a teen mom, and so small towns, you already know how that goes, right? So bigger towns is just I found out it's just a bigger thing, right? But just wanting to give them a different experience of being in a town where there's different high schools.
It's a lot of high schools in Fresno.
A lot of high schools, a lot of, different shopping experiences, just a complete.
It's a little bit bigger than.
It was actually my first separation.
Okay.
Because most of my family is in Madera.
Oh, so they're still there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not too far, but.
No.
You want to get out of there, though.
Yes.
Okay. So I was on your Facebook, and I see you did a lot of cooking. It looks like you had your own cooking show. So can you tell me how the love of cooking came about? And
oh yeah, I with the internet, podcast, YouTube, there's so much that we can learn from the way we eat, how it affects us. So I would have to say I really got started with it when I realized that what I was eating was actually causing my own early death. And that started with the whole 80s when they sent out the free cheese.
They sent out some free cheese, and it was bad.
It was horrible. Oh, you're young.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Yes.
I was born in the 90s, so I wasn't here yet.
That's right. That was the 80s. My bad.
Wait, no, explain. I'm curious to know. So they sent out free cheese?
Well, it's even though for us all we know about is that they sent out free. Yeah, it was big. You would go and get these big blocks of cheese, and it was so delicious. And if you notice, if you go to a Mexican restaurant, they have cheese on everything. It seems like, right? So what it is without getting too much into it, it's the government and dairy combined. So they push this cheese thing because the government puts a lot of money into the dairy industry, and the dairy industry produces this, cheese, and it's very addictive. And so over the years, I did a lot of dairy in that way. I was never a milk. I don't like cow titty juice. That's what I call it.
Right.
Because that's what it is. Everybody be drinking, it's
cow.
interesting,
it's
right?
It's not for humans, for baby cows.
Right. Yeah. And then you never see on the display of the shelves, there's nothing there that says human milk for sale. Nobody's going to put it on their cereal, right? But we'll go, it's all advertising. So anyways, later down the line, mid-30s, I found out that I had something going on in my insides that could be a problem, but I just ignored it. I started to change the way I ate, and that made a difference, but not a big enough difference because, time and not making the change quick enough.
So when you talk about the Rustic Kitchen, so it's a healthy way of cooking.
Healthy and delicious. Too delicious. It takes me forever to lose some weight.
So you're not losing that taste factor when you're trying to eat healthy.
No, I don't want to lose that. That's why when people be saying on them jokes, I always, what are these vegans eating because they still... That's me.
She said, that's me. So I see you had like guests on. Like, so how did that happen? Did people want to help you cook?
I just asked people to come in. My main thing was I feel like a lot of the younger generation may view cooking as something... we're all about status and ego and all that. So cooking may not have the level of status that people are interested in because it's just easier to go to the restaurant and you get the instant gratification. So I think that the cooking has been lost, like actually cooking from scratch,
Yeah, I can't cook for nothing. I can't remember the last time I cooked something.
Yeah, so that was just the Rustic Kitchen was about and still is. I'm a grandma too, so like
I haven't seen it lately. So
I just have it on hold right now with everything else that's going on.
Well, watch out for that, you guys. She's in the kitchen cooking. I was like, this looks like a cooking show. Like I was going down it, like doing homework. I'm like, oh, this is something here.
Yeah, I love the Rustic Kitchen though. The people that would come in, that was really fun.
Okay. So we're going to jump into photography. I just like to give an introduction and get to know you a little bit more. Where you from? Oh, don't look at the notes now.
No, Don't cheat
I'm
looking at the lights.
Okay, so why photography? How did you get started?
Plus, that's too small. My eyesight is like...
Why photography for you? How'd you get started?
Oh, that's such a good question. I love the idea of capturing the moment. And holding that moment, and also the idea of seeing things that people don't see that you see, and then when they see it, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that happened." Especially with the weddings, I didn't know that. I didn't even see that. I had one bride tell me that because of how chaotic her day was for her, she didn't even get to see any of the displays set up. She didn't even have an opportunity to have any of the food that was, because nobody went and grabbed her stuff. So but the first image that made me fall in love is I was actually going for graphic design. I was not interested in photography.
And that was at Fresno City, correct?
Fresno City, yeah. I know. Look at you.
I see you was in Santa Barbara for 6 years, and then you came back to Fresno.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. You really dug deep. Jeez.
So can you tell me, did you discover photography while you're in Madera or Fresno, or was that the love you got when you went to Santa Barbara?
Well, it actually, in Madera, my husband at the time, his grandfather had passed, and I had taken this one picture of them, the grandpa and the grandma and my daughter, Sheena, who was with Fire and Spice. Okay, let me just pop that in there.
Put it out there.
But she was just a little girl at the time, and I took just a snap, and the picture ended up being in the paper.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of like, okay, I can take some pictures. So I did a lot of that type of stuff, and with my own family. And then I got interested in graphic design. And went to school for it, and they made you take photography. And I was like, why do we have to take photography? I'm not even interested in, And this was way back in the day. Like, you were not even
here
yet.
Yeah.
But it was way back, right? And so they made us take a photography class. And then that's when I had an assignment, and I went home, and I took a picture of my children, my 3, and my son, my youngest son, Jonathan, he always makes everybody laugh, and he had made them all laugh. And I took the picture, and that is where DV3 started. So the DV is for Denise, Vaughn, and then my 3.
Okay.
And then also lights, lens, and love.
Wow, see, I didn't know that. So I'm learning a lot today, guys. And also, it's early in the morning. We're here early before the sun's up. So.
We the 5 a.m. club.
So I asked this question. I asked a lot of photographers. Now, are you self-taught? Or did you go to school? But it seems like you went to school for photography. And how do you feel?
That's a good question.
Or is it a little bit of both?
It's a lot of both.
Okay.
it's a lot of both. I really wanted to dive super deep into photography. And, whenever we put our foot forward to do something, the universe starts to align us, right? So I actually was working for a foster care agency and was able to indulge in the graphic design with that. That was like my first real graphic design job. Everything else was a print shop, and I would do graphic design for local people. But I ended up leaving that job and looked for another job, which was a presenter, a high school presenter, where you go in the high school and you talk to the children, and then if they're interested, they fill out these slips and you take. So that's what I did. Oh, okay. I ended up leaving Fresno to Santa Barbara to do that, but I did that for Brooks Institute of Photography.
Wow.
So, and it was interesting how I ended up with that. And I got that job because of the calendar.
Oh, yeah, the calendar. Okay. I got that down. Matter of fact, we can talk about that now. Yes. So, where did I have that at here?
So, the calendar was self-taught, and that was with a Canon AE1. AE1? And I see that you have that. It was like my first camera that I got at AMVETS here in Fresno.
So, we're going to talk about that, too, but I also want to bring up the BBS, Beautiful Black Skin, featuring local black men. So, my thing about this is, like, I feel like my client is more female-based. And I definitely want to bring the males on, but I feel like men don't shoot photo shoots like women do. They don't book, or they're not really, I don't know, maybe I'm a male photographer, so that maybe they feel more comfortable with a female photographer, but a lot of men don't book. Like, I get a lot of females. So what do you think about that? Like, since you captured the whole featuring local black men, like,
that was what, 2006, I think, 2006 for that. So that was like in the beginning where MySpace was out. So I've noticed with the men, because I tried to bring it back, but not like really.
I think you should. I was looking down. I said, "Oh, look at these guys! They was modeling, shirt off on the beach."
A lot. And you know what? It's interesting that project. A lot of the people that were in the calendar, they're doing phenomenal things now. Yes. There's one who's a coach. There's another one who's done acting or singing with Jamie Foxx.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of them that are doing big time things, and it's really interesting to see
the growth. I think you should bring it back.
It was designed to, in a society that promotes negative imagery when it comes to melanated people, and then also with the separation of who's lighter, who's darker, that whole separation. My whole idea for photography is to shoot away at that to show how beautiful we are, melanated, all shades, and whether because I have an indigenous background. Okay. Whether we're that and actually most melanated people here are indigenous. They like to lie, but the truth is. And so we all, the unity, and that's another, Rasta lifestyle.
Yeah, so, I think that's.
That was a great project, but that was definitely self-taught, and I did not want to get in this liberty. Most people call business, but it's a liberty. I did not want to get into this. Somebody invest in me, and then I didn't know how to do the job. So, and actually every photo shoot at the BBS, I was always really afraid. I didn't know what was going to come out. Plus, I'm working with the film camera, so
scary.
It's very, very, and you have to it's an investment.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So then when I moved to be a high school presenter for Brooks, they opened up it was really odd. They opened up a certificated program.
Oh, wow.
For a wedding. So I got to learn from like huge
especially out there in LA area.
And I had to pinch myself because I was in Santa Barbara. I was like, what?
So how did you leave Santa Barbara, the beach and scenery over there? You want to come back here? What made you come back?
I know, right? It's them grandchildren.
Okay.
They'll do it to you.
Family will do it for sure.
Well, the whole goal when I left, it was a big deal. I didn't really have much support. I didn't know anybody in Santa Barbara. But when I left, and I only left with like a blow-up mattress and my computer. I didn't have anything. I just said, okay, I left everything with as much as I could with my daughter, who I had one son that was a senior, and the other two had already graduated. But it was still really tough for them. I'm sharing this because it's not always going to be easy going after what you want.
No.
But I had the vision of going and learning as much as I could from this school and then bringing it back. So that if my daughter called up and said, hey, Mom, I need you to watch my babies or my son, I would say, yeah, I can do that for you. As long as, and so I do that a lot.
That's good. No,
Watch my grandchildren. So it's kind of full circle now.
That's important. Yeah, definitely. So I want to go to the next question. It was, do you shoot film? But we already kind of discussed it. But can you tell me about how you started with film and then everything transferred to digital? Because I started with digital and then I actually went back to film. Somebody told me like, oh, film. I'm like, what is that? I had no idea what it was. So I kind of did it backwards and explain how you went from film to digital.
It was a slow transition because I would go to places and all these people would have digital cameras. Because let me tell you, I have lived without credit from early 20s to right now. So that tells you a lot when it comes to getting camera equipment. One of the things I admire about you is your availability to go dive deep and to invest in what you do, which is, again, I'm thankful that you're doing this because you're in the position to, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm trying to do something a little different and help the community out so we can grow and talk to each other like this, because I feel like this is much needed.
Oh my God, yeah, it's really needed. So then as things opened up, I was able to go into digital, and the high advantage of digital is just being able to shoot and delete, right?
Absolutely. So we'll talk a little bit about the difference between film and digital. So film is more like you get certain of them are 26, 36 shots. And when you shoot a subject or whatever it is, you can't look at behind the LCD and see the image. You have to wait, send it in to get developed, and then get it back. So you don't know if the images are in focus or if it's overexposed, underexposed. And I think if you call yourself a photographer, I think you should shoot film to really understand composition and getting the right shot and exposure and all that stuff. So if you shoot film, I think you're good in my books. But a lot of people shoot digital though, so it's kind of like.
And it's not just getting it right when it comes to film, because you could do everything right, and then when they go to develop it, if something's wrong or if you pull it out the camera wrong, there was very fragile when it comes to film.
Yeah, I remember seeing people get like double exposed pictures and then like it actually look good.
It does,
If it get to wind it, So that's the difference between film. I actually like it.
The look of film has yet to be captured with. Here it is. There's photography, which I feel like film is the true essence of that, because digital, even your camera is, representing based off of your settings. Your camera can do high contrast or whatever, but your film, right, is original to that. And then when we take it into the computer, now we're becoming graphic designers, right?
A lot of editing.
A lot of editing. So I noticed that with the film, I didn't have to do much editing. It was because I would transfer them to CD.
Straight off the camera. And it's already looking
good.
Yeah. That's one thing I do admire about film. And film is like coming back now. A lot of photographers just shoot film. I got friends, they only shoot film. They don't shoot digital. Yeah,
there's a lot of people out there who do that. And then those, the caliber of those artists is definitely artist. Especially if you're still working with film.
I feel like they're more of an artist and more of a storyteller. I feel like digital is kind of like it gets rid of that storytelling because you can shoot so many. That film, like they're telling stories. Like you can see the story, you can see the composition. It's so different.
Right.
And I admire that. I want to shoot more like that than I'm doing digital, because you can relate to the image more.
Yes.
It has a message to it.
Yeah, I still have my film camera.
Yeah, I have two of them, and I need to shoot more, but it's like,
it's a big change. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk to me about your favorite lens and why.
Oh, my favorite lens is the 85 1.2.
C85? Okay, 1.2. Oh, you like the 85? Okay, a lot of people say 85.
85 1.2. Okay, that's my.
Oh, you like
the baby. Now it's heavy. It's very heavy. But I love it.
Okay, so are you a Nikon, Canon? No, you're a Canon shooter. I remember at the wedding.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for helping
Oh,
me
no
out with
problem.
that too.
I got to get you out to the wedding with me, but
Yes,
I
I
got to change
told
my
you
prices
yes.
because I got to make sure I can pay you good. I want to make sure you
Right?
know. So once I get those prices set, then
And that's so important. I know we'll probably talk about it, but with that one wedding, that was a that was my gift to them, having a second photographer. I didn't include that in the price. That was actually my way of saying thank you to them because they hired me for. See, the thing is, I like to reward the people who work with me. You're going to get rewarded one way or another. I'm going to find a way to reward you, especially if you bring peace and a magical experience.
I hear you.
So that wasn't, I do have it where they can invest in it. And I think everybody out there that's getting ready to get married, you need to invest, or not need, welcome you to invest in two shooters and a videographer.
Yes, I want to piggyback off that. I definitely recommend that there's two photographers for a wedding, but sometimes when wedding budgets don't allow for a second photographer, sometimes you gotta just go on your own. And I
Most
hate,
times.
yeah, and I hate to do that. Like and I even pay people for a second photographer, but they're not in my budget, so it's kind of taken out of my pocket as a photographer. But I
And
understand.
this is where the photography community comes together, because there's always something that we can do for each other, that it doesn't always have to be monetary.
Yeah.
The monetary thing is really colonization, right? Because our own people, we did bartering, we traded. Somebody had something, somebody else had something, and we worked together and everybody built. Money was not always here. You know, it's here now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that, because there's going to be times where I'm going to want to have a photo shoot taken with my family, and I don't want to have the stress of doing it myself. Oh, okay, hey, you know what? How much do you charge? Let's see, and this is how much I charge. So, because when I went to, excuse me,
No, so
and it says 222 on there.
we were just talking about 222.
Yeah. One of the things I learned from the instructors at Brooks when I was there and took courses and workshops was I see that they have a really good community. So if one photographer needs something, hey, I'm hurt, I can't get to a wedding, can you do this for me? And they work with each other. That is so important. That benefits our clients, that benefits each other.
True.
Because the worst thing to happen is something happening, because everything is unforeseen. There's, we can say we're going to be somewhere, but something can happen. Having a community to be able to go with, it's not a competition of photographer to a photographer. We're really not. And
That's true.
this is why your podcast is very welcomed.
Yeah, because I don't want people to, see me as competition or a threat.
Oh,
Because
no, I'm inspired.
yeah, because they don't know me personally. So it's, you can see somebody as photographer online and you can see, oh, this guy. And, oh, I don't know, maybe I don't want to talk to him or maybe he's arrogant. But if you don't know me, you don't, I'm a people person. I love people, and I'm never, like, I competed in sports my whole life. Like, I even that's the reason why I came to Fresno, because of football. And
Okay.
once I got done playing college level, I was like, I don't want to compete with nobody. Like that was instilled in us to compete. And after that, I don't compete with my fellow photographers like that.
We're
So,
too busy.
Yeah,
It's too hard. Especially you. You be doing all kinds of
I'll be
stuff.
trying.
You be everywhere.
I'll be trying. Well, I'll be seeing you too. When you see that DV3 logo everywhere, I'm like, oh yeah, that's her.
That was a thing that I decided a long time ago, because as what we do behind the scenes, a lot of photographers are not recognized, or people will post, just recently I shared a post of all these farmers. And one of the pictures I had taken, and I know they cropped out the logo, right? Which I get why they do that, but it's really like, why?
Yeah.
Because without the photographer, the image wouldn't exist. The story wouldn't be told. And some of the images in the farmers that I posted, I know the photographers showed up with lighting equipment and took the time, and then just for them not to have not even a photo credit, not even their watermark. So, people sometimes have this mentality, well, I'm not, you're not going to make money off of me. I'm not going to shout you out. Why? What's wrong with that?
Yeah. That's actually a good topic. I didn't have it down here, but we should talk about this. So a lot of people, when you send them stuff, they don't even tag you most of the times. And, tagging is very important because it can lead to another client, somebody that you have, family, friend, will see it like, oh, that's nice images. Where'd you get it from? So I don't watermark my images. I did at the beginning, and then I took it off. And I took it off for this reason because I feel like it was too distracting because I would put it at the corner and they would crop it. And then I start putting it right in the middle so they couldn't crop it. Either way they crop it, it would still be there. But I feel like it took away from the image of the actual photo, so I took it out.
Yeah, a lot of people make that choice. And, I kind of feel the same way too. But when you are establishing yourself and people can easily take your image and present it as their own.
That's true.
That's a problem.
Yes.
And it's, I get if the people want to be able to post their images without the watermark. And I certainly don't want them printing images with the watermark.
Yeah.
I want them to have it without. The watermark for us is, this is my work. And as you get, people can even tell your work without the watermark. They know who did it.
Yeah.
But nowadays, everybody is, with the computers, with the new cameras, everybody can shoot the same, really.
Yes. Not only that, like, you can still watermark and you can still edit it out. Like,
right.
There's, like, either way you can put it on there.
There's all types of ways. So the thing that what I offer for the people who invest in DV3 is on their online gallery, it's right in the middle, right? But as soon as they get their bonus images, and we can talk about, because I'm not afraid of pricing.
Oh, yeah. We can talk about that.
But I make it available for them to be able to have it without. And then it's their choice how they want to do it. And because I have put in a lot of years into this, it's getting to the point for me that it's not as important as it was when I first started. And I real strongly feel that when you're first starting, you have to watermark your image.
No, I think it's important.
Because people have to know who you are, and even if a person decides they don't want to tag you, that watermark says where it's at. In addition, it prevents corporations from taking your work because they're the ones that are going to be held on a higher standard for the copyright.
Yes, absolutely.
But if you're not protecting yourself, then
no. I think it's good where you're at. I actually need to improve my watermark and come up with something where I can put and tag my photo. So I think it's actually good. Something I should have continue to do, but I didn't. But I'm definitely going to look into it and try to add something to my images.
What's your artwork?
Yeah.
It's your artwork. You're the one, as a photographer, we're the ones with the vision. We're the ones that see the shot before it's even created. And so part of the education when it comes to the people that work with me, when we have our little coaching discussions prior to them investing, is, we talk about that. It's not just, if it was just clicking, then you can not even hire. You can ask your cousin or somebody who wants to be a photographer, and they can show up with a cell phone, and there it's done.
That's true.
But typically, those people don't know what to do until they see a photographer doing it. Then they want to get all behind you and all up. You know what I'm talking about?
Over your shoulder, right?
Over the shoulder, and sometimes very disrespectful. But anybody can take a picture.
Yes.
But it's a true artist that uses the camera, uses the equipment as the brushes, and to display the message that we're looking for.
Especially if you're a film shooter, man,
Yeah.
a different eye, different
Yeah.
composition, different storytelling. And I see that in your work now. I didn't know you were a film shooter, but now looking at you.
I was way back in the day. I'm digital now.
But you still have that film kind of composition, that eye.
I think film is a great way to learn, because then you learn, your camera, where that needle is, and on the camera, on the AE1s, you had the needle. Like if it was over this much, you were overexposing. So I think that's a great way, but I don't know how easy it is to do nowadays when it comes to developing.
Okay, some people develop themselves too, like at home.
Yeah, big up to them.
You rather just send it in, huh? And
I'm
wait.
to the point where I like simple. I like peace, simple,
Less.
and that comes with its drawbacks
That's
too.
even more work now. You think about it. You gotta send it in.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
And
Even if you have your own home studio developing, the chemicals, a lot of them have been.
I was reading some history,
discouraged.
and it said that the chemicals, people had to wait a week to go back, and people were dying because of chemicals. And then the flash would blow up, cameras would blow up with the flash powder and everything. So it was like really,
Oh yeah, it's dangerous. Huh?
yes. I'm like, sneeze. Yeah, I know. Taking out the trash. Okay, we're here, part 2. So we're gonna talk about favorite things to shoot and why.
Favorite things to shoot. I have so many favorite things. I would have to say my favorite thing to shoot is senior pictures.
Okay.
I feel like that's such a pivotal time
Okay.
for the young person.
It is.
And maternity are a favorite.
I love maternity.
I
Yeah.
love maternity. Couples.
Mm-hmm.
I love couples.
The interaction.
Yes. And one thing that I don't advertise a lot because it is a very, to me, intimate is the boudoir.
Wow.
I really love those.
Why you don't want to advertise that?
Because I feel like for a lot of women, doing that is very challenging for their self-esteem. So if I see them post it, then that's
You'll
one
post
thing that I feel like it's a sacred thing.
Yeah.
And there's difference between having a photograph taken and it's sexual, and I love those too.
But there's a difference.
But there's a difference between boudoir, that means bedroom, right? So there's a difference of doing something like that. And a lot of women who have hired me to do that, they're doing it for their boyfriend, but when they get done, or husband, when they get done, they actually really love what they did. And I say every woman ought to do it at least one time.
Experience it.
Experience it for yourself.
But that's something they got to be comfortable in. Not everybody's comfortable.
Right.
in
And
shooting
that's a good point you bring out, because if you invest in the wrong person behind the lens, they can exploit your imagery.
Yeah. And we talk.
And
Yeah.
that, like I said, I have one image at home that I love, and that would be considered a boudoir. And that I was going to bring it, but
Yeah, I brought it in here. But no, that's important. We talked about this in the last podcast with another photographer. But yeah, it's important because I shoot it as well. And so my main thing is I want people to feel comfortable when they come here, because I have a family. I have a girlfriend for years, almost 10 years next year. So I shoot it.
Oh, so she's been through the thick with you, huh?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have her on a podcast so she can talk
that'd be
about
good.
it. Yeah, because I started photography right when I met her, so it was kind of something new. And then I started diving into that area of it, and it was new for me, new for everybody. So, it was different. But I like to express myself. I like to express other people's stuff and like other people's. So, I dived into it, but I always want to make sure that they're comfortable. And then if they're not comfortable, I say, hey, look, we're not going to shoot this. But yeah, that's something that I feel like a lot of people want to express, but they're not comfortable doing it, or they look down on it. But me, I like to express myself and express other people, so I'll post it out there.
Yeah, boudoir is really fun. And I love weddings too. Everybody coming together to celebrate.
Yeah, weddings is fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
emotional.
my top favorite one, I would have to say, is senior portraits.
So if you can choose between all of those weddings, senior portraits, couples, you would choose the actual
Senior portraits.
senior portraits. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's only just because they tend to be ready to create. They have a different mindset when it comes to, they know what photography is about. And it's just, like I said, them being at that time of their life, transitioning from being at home, going into college, or whatever their next move is. It's a huge piece.
And they tend to come back to get more photos after the senior portraits.
And then you get your families, your newborns.
Maternities.
Yeah.
And then they're married. So it all lines up. And you want that in customers. You want them to come back in.
I call them I transitioned from, I had it where people who came back to me for exclusively, they were what I call Royal Loyals, but now I have a membership.
Okay.
So there's my Royal Loyal members.
That's
And
smart.
they get all kinds of bonuses and they get everything. And that's because they have eliminated the stress of dealing with somebody who's new, who may only be, and everybody has their way of doing things. So it's not a bad or good thing. It's just you have to be in alignment and you have to qualify the people you work with.
Yeah,
and I've been called a difficult person.
Oh man,
You
look,
didn't find that in all the research.
no. When I do my research on the photographers, I'm not looking for anything negative. Because there's a lot of stuff. I go through situations all the time. I get like one bad client each year. And I never post it. I never go online and post my experience, but I have them. And people come to me like, hey, I had this experience about this people. They're trying to do this. I'm like, hey, man, I've been there. I've been doing this for 9 years. And there's a lot of people doing it for longer than me. But I didn't see the goods and the bads, and I've seen it all. So I had situations where people tried to come at me and tried to cancel me, so... And like I said, I don't share it. I talk to my family, I talk to my lady about it, but I never would address another photographer about a situation that they had because I don't know the story.
That's
and me
true.
as being an artist, I know that we give clients additional stuff that they don't even know about.
Right.
We stay later at events that they don't pay for.
Right.
People don't show up on time for bookings, and we give them late fees they don't pay. It's a lot of stuff that people do not understand what we do, what we go through, and people don't respect most of the art and they don't value it. And so I understand that. So I never would judge anybody if I see something or heard something because I don't know the story. Right. And I know this craft is really different and people don't understand it. And I feel like we have to educate our customers so they can better understand that this is just not clicking a button. We are humans, we have emotions, we have feelings, and you have to respect us.
Right.
Because a lot of people want to step on our toes and disrespect us. And
Yes.
then they want to blast us, oh, don't work with them. No.
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to invest in any creativity, whether it be somebody who's doing your hair, somebody who's styling you, somebody who's videographing you, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is that they're doing, you are hiring them for their creativity. Otherwise, you could just, have your uncle or your cousin come and do whatever. But if you're hiring someone, so you want to let them be at their best. So if we are running away from a lion that's chasing us to eat us, how creative can we be at the time? Nothing. We're in survival mode. So what that consumer or client's doing is they're actually sabotaging their own investment.
Yes.
Instead of realizing, wait a minute, I'm investing this chunk of money. Let me make sure that I find out what this artist needs or welcomes, and then let me go ahead and work in those parameters. And for me, when people work with me, it's, 5 a.m. for me is a thing.
Yeah.
And I love sunrise. So yes, I know people will know. Makeup artists probably hate me. But I love them, especially the ones that do make the effort to get up at 2 a.m, do makeup at 3, be done around 4, so that allows the person to go home, change or whatever, and be at a photo shoot, let's say 5:30 or 6. Okay. Just depending on where the sun is at that time, because it rises different times throughout the year. But for 100-degree weather, it's mandatory. You can't even wait until 6 p.m. because we're still in the hundreds. So the only time that we're in the 70s or 80s is in that morning time.
That's smart.
And so what happens is that for those makeup artists that make that investment of getting up early, now their makeup, when it's being photographed, it's correct. Versus if somebody's going on, because of course studio, you control temperature, everything, right? But when we're doing on location, you can't control a lot of things. So if we don't advise our clients, I've told lots of clients, hey, I think it's better for you to go to a studio, especially if you want to keep this makeup artist and she doesn't do early morning, then I would prefer for you to do a studio session or hire a different on-location photographer who's going to show up at 1 o'clock and be in the heat and subject their equipment to being, messed up, because you can overheat your equipment. And I guarantee you, one photo shoot of ours does not cover, not even the little flash that we put behind the person or if we're using it, doesn't cover. The equipment is so expensive. And that's one thing that a lot of our consumers just don't know. And so doing this podcast, uniting as photographers,
Yes,
what we
absolutely.
do is we actually start to elevate our industry instead of being at a point where lots of times people feel like if I'm paying you, they don't realize it, but they're creating a slave mentality when they're being disrespectful, when they're not cooperating, when they show up late and they don't call you. It's different when things happen and people are letting you know and they're making up for it in one way or the other. But we're talking about people who are entitled and display narcissistic behaviors.
Yes, and you get a few of those. It's not
A lot of those, if you're not paying it, if you're not
Yes.
vetting, I
Yes.
don't. With DV3, and there's so many things that have changed the way I operate, and it's all been based. For instance, my late fee, because I was hired to do a hairstyling photo shoot. We were doing on location. I had this badass vision for it, right? And there was probably like about 7 girls, and this was way back in the day. So she got me at a great price.
For 7 people. Yeah.
Yeah, and she kept saying, we're on the way, we're almost done. Okay, I was there for 2 hours. Now I'm out downtown Fresno by myself with the expensive camera equipment.
Somebody could. Yeah.
And they're telling me they're on their way. I know that she hired makeup artists and hairstylists. So I'm doing what I can. Didn't have it in my agreement about late fee. So I can't hold them accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable for not having it. So anybody who's hired DV3 since then, and that was in the beginning, knows I have a late fee.
Yeah.
And my late fee is $60 per 15 minutes past the start time.
That's smart.
And I tell them when we have our coaching, because I'm going to tell you every reason to say no. Because I don't believe in people hiring you and then you got all these, add-on fees.
Yeah.
Like when they go into JCP studios or any of these studios at Sears, where you would sit there and it seemed real cheap, but by the time you get done, you're going to be $300-$400 in.
That's how they catch you with the $30-$40 photo shoots, and they all go in and then okay, you get one print and you don't have rights to them for digital, so you got to pay for the CD.
Yeah, all that good stuff. So that started the late fees, and I had the experience of because again, going to Brooks, I learned a lot, and one of the things is you always want to meet with your clients beforehand. You don't ever book without seeing your people and talking to them, because what happens is those sometimes problematic people are the ones that are just looking, what's your prices and where can I book? And you don't even get to talk to them like what do they have in mind?
See those red flags, right?
You cannot see whether you are in divine frequency together, because what works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. Like you might be really good at finessing people who are not me. It's in my thing. If anybody's rude, the session is over.
Yeah. Oh.
The session is over.
The vibes is everything.
I let them know ahead of time. I am very, very thankful for everybody who has went through the journey with DV3 as far as connecting with me, coaching session, booking, photo shoot, editing, being patient. I rarely have people, when do I have my pictures? Because I tell them in the thing,
yes.
When their pictures to be, I call it an agreement because I don't like contracts. See, because then you got the word con. And I'm not conning anybody.
Yeah.
We're agreeing.
Ooh, I like that.
We're agreeing to do this together. I'm agreeing to show up at my very best for you, and you're agreeing to say, hey, if this is how you work, I want you to work at your best because I'm investing in this money. Go be creative. Go do your thing.
So I feel like I started that late. I feel like, I talked about it again in the podcast previously, but I feel like I didn't do that. I was just, more of it was just verbal. Like, okay, let's meet up. I never had contracts, and I just don't like filling them out. Like any paperwork, I don't like filling it out. But recently, like the last year or so, I started to do more contracts. So now I'm doing it more. But I still like. I don't
It's
like,
the part of photography we don't want anything to do
No,
with. And
you
if
just
we
want-
had somebody that we could afford, but because
Yeah.
of the pricing and the
can't-
industry value in
Yeah.
Fresno, this community is very low.
Yeah.
Like, come on, if we were in
Yeah.
LA, how much
Oh.
could we charge for an
Oh,
on-location
man.
photography,
Oh, a
right?
lot. We-
But then they're also their cost of living is higher,
higher,
but their
so-
appreciation in that area is very
and
different
they
than here in
know
Fresno.
they know that they got to pay for stuff like that. So
Yeah, so
But yeah,
it's
if I had an assistant, it'd be a lot much smoother. It's like
because the assistant can handle everything.
yeah, being a photographer, you think you going out there and you're shooting, editing, but you got to be you got to market, you got to do the advertising, you got to handle the finances, you got to handle the paperwork on top of the photography and the editing. Like it's a lot.
It's crazy. And the one thing, sometimes people can look at people like myself, Rasta, love, joy, peace. Yeah, but we also have boundaries. And I have had situations where I was hired to do something and we tell them, hey, upon arrival, this is what needs to happen. And these people, because of how they treated other photographers or their idea, they decided they want to try to wait. And I've been to the point where I'm about to shut down. This is the last shot I'm about to take. So I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem collecting any type of debts, any late fees, because they won't see not one image without the late fee being paid for. And it's very protective for you as a photographer to have something in writing. And them coaching sessions, and I call them coaching because, first of all, it's $20 just to talk to me.
Okay.
And then we can talk about your vision. And I had to do that because it was free.
Yeah.
You could call me up and we'd set a time and I would tell my grandchildren no or somebody else no and be there ready and the person wouldn't show up. No call,
Excuse me.
nothing. And so I said, okay, how do I eliminate? I can't change them. I can only change me.
Yeah, and if you have that sitting fee, then they would come because they don't want to waste that money. So that's smart.
Yeah, and it's so easy with the FaceTime videoing. So we do that, and it goes towards their booking. But if they don't book, I make sure to give them information to help them with their session. So
I got something in my throat. I should have got some coffee. Excuse me.
that's okay. Yeah, so.
But I think it's important too because you get a lot of inquiries about people wanting to tell you their vision. It's like, okay, I don't want to hear your whole vision. I just want to know a little bit of what you're trying to do, and I'm giving you my prices. But to listen to your whole vision, it's like, okay, I need you to either book or you need to do something because it's, what location do you have? Like, okay, now we're into something more deeper, which is, just an inquiry is better. Like, what's your price? I'm thinking about booking. Oh, sure, my name is Sherry. If you want to book, here you book, and then we can discuss further details, after your deposit is made. But that's smart,
Yeah, and I don't call them deposits.
Retainers?
Deposit is the wrong word to use
Retainer?
in the photography
You use retainer?
business, and I learned that at Brooks. It's a booking fee. Call it exactly what it is.
Okay.
It's not a deposit. If you go and you can say it's a non-refundable deposit, but when you're using that word deposit, people think they can get it back because that's what's related
Deposits.
to that word.
You get it back.
So you have to say what it is. It's a booking fee. You're booking me. I'm booking the date. It's for you. It doesn't matter if my granddaughter has a graduation that day that they forgot to tell me about. My main goal is who booked me. So you're paying me to be there.
For that time, to reserve that time slot and date.
Yeah. And then when I arrive, then they are paying for the actual
So
shoot.
do you get it before the remaining balance before or after?
Before. Before the session.
Okay.
So as soon as we arrive, there might be a few who don't pay, but these are people who tip me really well. These are people who I've worked with in the past, and they're I don't have to chase. That's the one thing I don't, because I don't have a credit line.
Yeah.
I work strictly off of what people
Come in. Mm-hmm.
and I'm in a position to be like for you and for other photographers who've made this investment of a studio, equipment, and all that. You guys have monthly bills. You gotta make sure you meet it.
Yeah, we gotta. Yeah.
I don't have any of that type of overhead. Everything I have is owned, and so I don't have a studio. So I'm, if you want, I don't know if it. I'm stepping myself out there to help create a culture to say, okay, if I want to hire somebody of a certain quality, then this is how we have to perform with each other.
Yes.
And then I pass that on to other photographers because you guys need to know it too. Otherwise, this is what they're going to be doing, right? And calling, they're going to be jumping here to you, to there, to there, to there, to there, and then we're in a frantic.
Needs to be a standard.
Needs to be standard.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So the coaching, I've recommended you many times.
Oh, appreciate it.
And I really loved working with you that day.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
And again, that was a surprise for the bride. And unfortunately, that wedding just was. A lot of weddings go a little bit over. You know what I learned from that experience is even if they have a wedding coordinator, never stop your communication with your bride and groom. Don't go through the wedding coordinator
because they don't be aligned with the
because
time
they have their own thing that they're doing. In that case, that wedding coordinator brought a photographer on, and you remember he was a young man there, and he was just. And she said it was for her, but she was trying to do something different.
And see, when I'm shooting, I don't allow anybody to take any pictures.
Oh yeah, I have that in my agreement, and I can just leave.
Even family members, like some people, I told somebody put the camera down. I was like, he's learning. Okay,
this is not where you learn.
Yeah, and people looked at me like, oh, you're crazy. No, it's just you're a distraction, and I need to work, and I have my team here. So if you're in the way, you're going to be in the way in a pivotal moment. I don't need that. So I tell people. Don't have any other photographers or videographers.
Or they're in breach of the agreement. Mm-hmm. And this is something that's, I think that the general public also is welcome to know. When you go to a wedding and you see that there are hired photographers, it's not a good idea to put your ass in the aisle because it's going to get shot. Right. Right. If you wanted to make the sacrifices that we as photographers have made to be in this industry, beautiful, go for it. But to do that, number one, you're really not showing respect for the couple because the couple, they pay a lot of money for these celebrations, for the venue, for the photographers. And for you to go up there because you feel entitled, you're the cousin, sister,
you
whatever.
Get that behind the scenes.
But you weren't on the wedding. You weren't in the wedding. So you got to find a way to be in the wedding. That's like so disrespectful. And not only, the culture also welcomes the change of realizing that the photographer is hired for the couple. So when you're taking those pictures, it's for the couple. It's for the couple. Because sometimes they look at us like, no, I don't know you. I don't want to smile.
Like, okay. Well,
okay.
Right.
Well, yeah.
All right. Go take a picture. Oh, I don't want a picture. Well, they hired me here to get these shots. So if I don't get them,
I just move on. Because in my agreement, I let them know.
Like,
I've had it to.
I was just being nice. I really didn't want to take them, But,
right.
Okay. But I notice a lot that, especially during weddings, that people don't. Like even the DJ, like they never considered a photographer. Like we would sit down to eat for, after we've been working for about 5-6 hours, we'll sit down, grab something to eat, waiting. They're okay, they're going to do the grand entrance. It's like,
I have a solution to that.
Like, well, thank you. Can you give us a heads up before you decided to,
So in my agreement, and this is most of my weddings that I do, the average time is 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
4 hours. And I coach them on how we can use those 4 hours to make it look like I was there the whole time. And one of the things, if it's more than 4 hours and if it's in where we're eating, I require that I eat, and I don't really even eat the food most of the time, but if I did or if I had staff, we eat the same time that the bride and groom eat. And it's not because we're a service industry, they want us to be last. The reason why we do that is because we have to be eating when they're eating.
And then when they're done,
because when they're done, then we're ready to go. Yep. And there's no missing it. You really never get to eat if you don't do that because there's always something going on. But, the bride and groom don't want to be photographed eating. Nobody wants to be photographed
I don't
eating.
shoot when people are eating at all. That's when I take my break and time to, get my lenses, charge my batteries, and then I come back after eating. I don't take any photos of eating at all.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
No, it's not.
But I do take pictures of the plates and, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's, nobody wants pictures of themselves eating. No. So, but that's a way to help with that. And you talk to your brides. You make sure that they've talked to the venue. And but now I'm at the point where I don't even eat the food because being plant powered, and I'm also very picky about where I eat. Yeah. I just bring my own and
you know,
go
stuff
from
like that.
there. Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys at wedding venues and brides and grooms, just consider your photographer.
It's called professional courtesy.
Yeah, make sure we're ready to capture your moments. I mean, most of the time we're going to be ready, but you know, just consider us. You know, we're here to capture those memories. That's going to last a lifetime for you. You know, so just treat us nice and you know, just think about us.
Well, the nicer they treat us, the better that the images come out, because we can fully focus on being creative and not, oh my gosh, you know, this person is doing this or this. Yeah. It's called professional courtesy.
So, do you prefer natural light or artificial light? Because I know you use artificial light. If you can choose one, what would you choose and why?
I'm going to choose this off-camera strobe.
Why is that?
Because you cannot create images the way we do without the off-camera strobe. There's no way. There's no way.
It's a big difference. I notice right away when I'm seeing images, I notice whether they're naturally lit or artificially lit, and it's just a pop of color and the way it looks with artificial. It's like I love it, but I also love the natural light look. But that pop of flash is everything. I love it.
It's everything. Yeah. I wish I could just have it with me everywhere.
It's a lot more work though. You have to carry a lot more equipment, depending on the sun, on what time of day it is. You know, it's a little challenging.
That's again the coaching session. I probably educate the people who invest in me too much. They're probably like, I don't really need to know all this, but I try to, you know, especially when it comes to the sun position. Yeah. It's very important.
It's everything.
I am shooting at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. That's if you're going for a hard look, which most people aren't going for. I know
it's not good on the skin anyway.
Yeah, NWP Photography. She just did an outdoor session.
Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, I did see that. So,
and I was like, look at her. But that time of day was definitely 12. It was harsh.
I saw the shadows in there.
But it worked. It really worked. Now, most family portraits, senior portraits, or, you know, couple engaged, they're not looking for that.
Yeah,
but for that, what she was doing, that was a great. It was wonderful. I was like, that's hot.
Yep, I've been telling her too. I've been telling, go outside. Just go outside. More clientele, more clients want to go in and out. So yeah, it's gonna be good for her.
I think it's good to have what it is that you enjoy doing, because here's the thing. You guys that have studios, you guys are investing in a studio, and so. Like for her, I love how she's doing all her studio setups, her props. She's always pushing herself to the next level, and I just love that about her. And that allows her to focus in on that. Then when you start going on location, like for me, I can do studio, but studio requires a lot of setup.
Yeah.
So does going outdoors, but I call myself a pop-up studio, right? You're doing a pop-up, and you ain't got to worry about the backdrop and everything. You're doing that, but you're working. Everything is a give and take. Yeah. So I specialize in the on-location pop-up studio, and I love referring people who will say or call me up and they'll want to do something, and it sounds a lot like what she's doing. And I'm like, you know what? I think you ought to just go in that direction.
Specialize in certain
because I enjoy the experience, the full experience of being outdoors. It's part of just
your personality and everything. Yeah.
Genetics and being indigenous. That's where we were. We were outside, and so
that makes sense. I actually started outside. And then,
I remember I would see you out there.
Yeah, I started right at Woodward Park. Yeah, I started outside.
The main place to go.
Yeah, the only place we got in Fresno. I started outside when I first started photography, and then a lot of people requested indoor. And I didn't know how to shoot indoor because it was challenging. You have to control light, and I had a studio, but I would just use a flash and bounce the flash off the ceiling and make it flat. And then it took me years to actually learn indoor photography. So, but I like outdoor because you can that blue sky and something about it, those clouds and everything. I like outdoor.
Yeah, it's a different experience, definitely. But yeah, that's really. That's my favorite.
So artificial light.
Yeah, and when I was going to school, that's where I was introduced to it at Brooks. We had we also had to do a full engagement session, and I think it was 30 minutes, and it was 2 photographers. See, I learned to work with other photographers at Brooks. That's what you learn.
Yeah. You should be able to work with be able to work with other photographers.
Right. And we had to do an engagement session basically in 15 minutes. So,
quick.
Yeah, it was.
So do you think people should charge more for artificial light since there's a lot more?
Absolutely. Work? Absolutely. My starting price is $175, which is still very low. But this, I don't include like, you pay $175, you get this print, that print. You're actually investing in me coming and setting up, taking a location, even if it is Woodward Park. How do I make it look different than another photographer? Yeah. So that's what the people are investing in. And then when they purchase images, that's actually paying for the editing, because we're not getting paid for the editing. Come on now, we are not getting paid for the editing.
No, that's a whole nother.
So the only way the editing gets paid for is when people purchase those galleries or when they purchase those individual images. The only thing
that makes sense.
Are what we're getting paid for is really for the creative. So that's been really difficult to kind of educate the people with, because they want packages, right?
Yeah.
How many prints do I get? How many images do I get? And we have to decide. Each person has to decide: am I a service? Am I an experience? Am I consumer based, in the sense that they're buying just products, right? Yeah. So you have to decide what you want it to be. And for me, it was the experience of hiring somebody who has a vision. It's a fun
experience too, you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, but they get mad at us. The society gets mad at us who decide to do something that we love, and so I think that's where that mentality is. That I don't have to treat you with any respect. I'm paying into you, and I can show up late when I want to. No, to me, you can show up late. Just make sure you have the funds to do that.
Yeah, somebody show. It's just a common courtesy. Like if I'm hiring you for a photographer, like if I'm showing up late, I'm going to tip you. I'm going to pay you for my lack of lateness in my time, but people just don't even have that common courtesy. If I'm late, it's all good. Like, don't worry about it. I'm just late. Like, no, I have kids. You don't know if I have to go get a babysitter to come to this photo shoot and I have to pay them. Now you're late. That's additional fees I have to pay my babysitter.
Now that's just in the babysitting part, but not only, like, especially for weddings, we're setting up equipment that's running off of batteries, that's running off of, time, or cameras are ready to go. You're investing in a creative experience. So if you decide to show up late because this is what brides do, and you're not communicating with your photographer, you're only sabotaging your own thing. Yep. And then you can't later on, when you see the images, why do they look like this? Well, that was because you didn't cooperate with your creative team.
The sun's going down, so now it's nighttime. And,
we had that experience together.
It's nighttime now, and it's a different look.
And after that experience, I hired you for another wedding, and I had to amend my agreement because of that experience. And it really wasn't even after later on I found out the bride was kind enough to talk with me, and I was able to find out what exactly happened, and it wasn't even her fault, but her wedding person never communicated with me. Wow. What was going on.
See,
none of us.
Got to communicate with us to make sure.
Got to communicate with us. And so the second one that I had in line for us to do, she didn't know I hired you either. And I don't tell my clients. I like to show you rather than tell you. So I had you on the books for that wedding, and I made the amendment and basically said if they were late 15 minutes, same thing, 15 minutes, then they had to pay an extra fee. And she wasn't in agreement with it, and I lost that. And that's why we ended up not doing it together. Yeah. But, I need, if it doesn't work for her, she also was in a position to do that because I only collect a certain amount to book me. And I don't allow them to pay me until later, so that if something does happen, I can get on the line, contact you and say, hey, are you open this day? Because, something happened, I have a family emergency, and they can take what they were saving up to pay me and pay you.
Makes sense.
So this is why, as photographers, us coming together is very important.
Yeah, definitely.
It's important for each other, but it's more important for the people that are investing in us because we're taking them into consideration.
Yes, absolutely. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I got to say it again. Big up to you.
Oh, appreciate it.
I'm always amazed at everything that I see you doing, because you do have a family.
Yes.
And I don't think people, that invest in photographers realize that we have to do a lot to, for me, I'm always adjusting, especially with my daughter doing her new business. It's really huge for me to be there to help her. So that, sometimes, more often than not, sacrifices what I'm doing with photography, but I'm always seeing you pushing, always seeing you doing it.
I'm trying to push for Fresno, and I'm not only pushing for myself, but I'm trying to just make a standard to have people respect it, pay us well, but also get good stuff for the investment.
Yes.
And if I have to be the advocate, I will. I'm more of a silent leader. And so me stepping into podcasts, me speaking in front of the camera when I'm only behind it is something different. But I'm really passionate about photography.
I am too. I love it.
I love it. This is life for me. So I want to make sure that people understand us as photographers here locally. I want to build a community. So that's why, I created a Facebook page, because I want people to talk to each other and connect. And
I don't think I'm in that one. You're going to have to send me the link.
I'll send you another request.
Yeah.
But I want people to be engaging and, have some kind of friendship and some kind of camaraderie when it comes to photography, because, like I said, I'm tired of talking to my family and friends about it. What they don't understand.
I don't want to hear.
And then having somebody like you, I really appreciate you, because I know you have a lot of years of photography under your belt. And me, I'm thinking I've been doing it for a long time, but, people like you have been doing it way longer than me. And so I just wanted to come pick your little brain a little bit and learn some stuff from you, because you can't beat experience. When you have experience, you've been through it, the ins and outs. You've been doing photography before digital. So there's a lot of stuff that that people don't understand, and you could be talking to clients, but they don't get it because there's a lot more to it. And so just having you, I learned a lot today. Like, seriously, I was like, oh, I'm listening. Like, oh, you were telling me some stuff I didn't even know. So it's good. I think people should have that. So
yeah. The biggest thing, too, as photographers for us is remember that if a consumer comes to you, or a client comes to you, or a potential client comes to you, and they start complaining about the past photographer, that's a big red flag. So instead of kind of what is it, getting on the side of the person who's telling you the story, you have to kind of put yourself in the photographer's. Like, I had somebody come to me and they said that you had given them a quote, and I said, oh, really? And they told me with the quote. I said, yeah, that sounds right. I told them.
yeah.
Another photographer, only another photographer or another person in your industry knows the sacrifice, the investment, the quality of work. Only we know what we do.
Yes.
So there's no reason for us to, to have any type of feelings of, oh, well, I can't bring this person on board. I mean, I wish I could hire someone that would just work a light stand. That's why I told you,
sister,
you need me to do that. I could do that. I know how to do that.
Yeah. That's easy. And to talk about that, it's important because, like, my people say I'm expensive, but in my eyes, I don't think I am.
You're an investment.
But you got to think about different photographers have different things. I have a studio, so I have an overhead. I have to pay every month for people to come shoot indoors. Some photographers don't have overhead, so if you don't have overhead, maybe they charge a little bit different than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Some photographers shoot artificial, some shoot natural light. People that shoot natural light don't have to buy expensive artificial light to shoot outdoors, so they don't have that overhead.
They don't, but here's what they also are losing out with, which, it depends on the style that the client is looking for. They also have white backgrounds. Everything is overexposed in the background. And some of them do a really good job with it. There's nothing wrong with it.
That's true. It's just a style.
But you can't expect a studio image shooting that candid is what I like to, a candid portrait.
Yeah, and I feel like most consumers, I know we're supposed to be wrapping it up, but I feel like most consumers and customers don't know the difference between the different styles. They say, I just want a photo shoot. Okay, do you want naturally lit, artificial? Like, what do you, they don't know. So I'm trying to educate the customers on that as well.
So one of the things that I've done for that is I ask them to go through my IG or any and send me their top 3 images that they like. And that kind of lets me know, because I can do both. If you can shoot off, you can shoot without.
Natural light,
yeah. And to do the wrap off, we started off with a rustic kitchen.
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and finish with that. The one thing that I have found very beneficial, because I'm going to be 55 in January.
Oh, wow.
So I've been on this earth for a while.
A lot of experience. That's what I said. A lot of experience, man.
Your health in anything that you decide to invest in, as far as your, the way you, this is a dream. You had this vision many years before it's now manifested. And if we don't have our health, we can't keep doing what we love to do. Absolutely. We can't show up because now we're sick, or we have to go to a doctor, or, we can't, time gets pulled from us. We can't get different angles because we can't bend down. We can't, run or walk backwards because somebody's coming down the aisle. So a big part of what I do is the rustic kitchen. What am I cooking in the kitchen to help me be creative?
Okay.
So I didn't have that then when we first started, but that's really the backbone of being able to show up, be on time, be ready, clear mind. Of course, I got to be irie. But, to give my best, and that starts in how I'm taking care of my body. So that's where the rustic kitchen came in.
That's good. You guys check it out. I was watching this. It was actually entertaining too. You can see you were happy and you were into it. Yeah. One last thing. I know that's supposed to be the last thing, but this is very something I want to talk about. I should have had the top of the list. Your favorite photographer is Gordon Parks. Now, this name came up in another podcast of mine. I had no idea who he was. The podcaster showed me his work, and I was like, oh, this guy is good.
He's amazing.
Yeah, so I never even heard of this guy. And then, doing homework on your page, I seen it, and then I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's the same guy somebody told me about. So I keep seeing this guy, Gordon Parks. Right. So can you tell me about first time you saw some of his work? And
so going to school at Brooks, they make you research photographers. And, of course, it's a colonized school. Everything is colonized, so everything is colonial. As far as the people that they're pushing for you to study. So I, like other photographers, I'm sure, we research people of the melanated. Who's out there doing it. And but there was probably more. But again, this whole not watermarking and not making yourself known in the way that he did, you're not going to be, your legend's going to go. Because we're many years after Gordon Parks, and we were talking about him today in 2022. But he was amazing. One of the things I really liked about him is he was hired to do this for Vogue or something big. I can't remember what it was.
Essence. He was the co-founder or something with Essence magazine.
Well, even before then, he was doing some photo shoot in New York for some high class person. Well, all the images got messed up. Can you imagine? All the images except for one. So what he did is he blew that image up, and he had it. So when the client walked in, they saw this beautiful image, and they were so enthralled with that one image that they didn't care about anything else. So I'm like, that is such a great way to view it, because, we're very critical of ourselves. Yeah. I've had to conquer, and I'm still conquering, the editing process, because that's when we're the most critical of ourselves. We're sitting there, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have had that tree coming out their head. We're the most critical, and for the consumer clients out there listening, the editing process takes time, because we have to go through and fix all the flaws, and we have to see our flaws, and that's not easy.
And this editing is a different process. Photography, editing, two different things.
Completely different.
You can be a good photographer, and I'm still working on my editing.
I think you guys, the last podcast that I saw was with NWP Photography, and you guys were talking about your turnaround time, which I thought was a great turnaround time, especially for you guys being new. My turnaround time when I started was really bad. Really bad.
Well, it takes time,
Yeah.
Everybody's different, so it takes time.
But now it's gotten better.
So that's definitely somebody I'm going to be looking at a lot more, because, give me some motivation. But just definitely thank you for coming on to the podcast. I'm definitely going to have you on to a second episode, so stay tuned for that. And
this was fun.
Look out for this one, and somebody's hunking. All right, we're going to end it there. Thank you for that episode. Have a good one,
Thank you guys for joining us. That was wonderful.
Yes.